I, a 35-year-old female, and my ex, a 35-year-old male, broke up last year. It was a very painful breakup. We were together for about a year. We loved each other deeply, but I had serious trust issues, which he failed to reconcile with me. This, along with the lack of reassurance and building on trust, led to our relationship taking a nosedive. One of the main reasons for the failure of the relationship was I found him on a dating app. My paranoia ate away at me every single day, and so the trust I had for him eventually crumbled. He says to this day, and swears by it, he went to look at his likes and he did not speak to anyone. I broke up with him in August last year, but we were still on and off and in contact until November or December. We spoke every day, then by December he just showed no effort whatsoever. He didn't invite me over, he barely replied, and it became about 2 to 3 months where we didn't even have intimacy. So one day, I blocked him and took the steps to move forward with my life and recover from the painful breakup. It was very hard, which I still have therapy for because of it. Words cannot express how alone and depressed I was. I have never experienced such darkness in my entire life. Then he would suddenly reappear, email me. I wanted him back, so I replied. He even came to see me on my lunch break, so I unblocked him and we were back in contact again. This takes us to around March. Despite this, I grew suspicious of the appear and disappear habits from him, so a friend posted his picture in a group. A girl messaged me and said he was dating her friend and they were on and off. She confirmed his name and address. I was mortified. It was the closure I needed, so I blocked him. This is now June. He was very angry when he found his picture. Someone sent it to him, but I do not regret posting it at all. In July, he began emailing me again. I ignored every single email. I dated someone else since he had moved on, so why can't I? It didn't work. It didn't feel right. I wasn't over my ex, and it was unfair to me and the new guy. I cried so much over my ex. The heartache was ruining my life and my ability to move on. He would email me long emails explaining how he regrets taking me for granted, not saying he regrets the girl, how much he thinks about me, the memories we had, how he wishes he could have me back, places that remind him of us, etc. I read all his emails but forced myself to not reply. My mom saw how hopeless and depressed I was. She suggested that I reply to him to meet up and have a discussion, so I did. It wasn't easy, but we eventually met up a few times after that. Now this takes us to September, when he came to visit me and we had intimacy several times. It was passionate, it felt like we connected again, and it felt right. He's been making the effort to see me, spend quality time with me, and put his phone away. His phone was always a problem when we were in a relationship. It's like he's valuing me again. Last week, we were on the phone. His being on and off with someone else is the elephant in the room. I had and still have so many questions. Then he said he would tell me the truth. It was the mother of his child. I was speechless. Now, some background story about her. She has always been envious of me and him, jealous of me. She even asked her child to ask me if my ex and I were living together, obviously from the mom. No child cares about that? The dynamics between my ex and her were a bit too close. He said he did it for the sake of his child so she didn't have the same upbringing as him. I did so much for their child, and the ex never showed a single drop of appreciation. He said they had been broken up for years, and he did not like her. Continuing with my story, he said he was not in the right headspace. He was lonely, and the ex obviously realized I wasn't around anymore. She texted him that she missed him. He was lonely, and so they met up, wined and dined, and eventually it turned intimacy. He said it didn't feel right, and things eventually fizzled out. He said he had missed me. He even told her he loved me, and she got really angry. This ordeal with her lasted 4 months. How do I feel? I feel sick. Yes, okay, I also dated and had moved on, but that was after I found out he had, and I didn't go back to someone with whom I have history. I also cut that off because I realized I wasn't over my ex. I hate her because she waited for the opportunity to be with him and jumped at it when she heard he was single. But I understand it also takes 2 to tango. He has been honest. He said he has no reason to lie anymore and wants us to start afresh based on the truth. He said it didn't feel natural. He struggled to have intimacy with her. He was continuously thinking about me. He missed me. I believe this because he emailed me a lot despite me never replying. I am very hurt, but he says we were not together at the time. Yes, that's true, but why pick her? Unfinished business? A rebound? I'm not sure. He says they are well and truly done, and he has no contact with her whatsoever. I have so many questions, but my head is all over the place, as you can imagine. He also said they used protection as he did not want another child with her. What would you ask? What should I consider? My head is all over the place, so I'm struggling to focus on the facts rather than my feelings. I will also speak with my therapist. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Girl, you are 35 years old. Stop playing games and dedicate yourself to actually blocking him and getting over him. No one is worth this much drama and pain, and you are being very, very foolish. He's a cheater. It's what he is. He likes the thrill of cheating, and he likes the thrill of making up and making grand statements that he thinks cover his back for next time. Please, wake up, be the woman you are, and stop entertaining this. Comment 2. Protect your peace. After only a year, your relationship should have still been in its honeymoon stage. Instead, it was lies and drama. This person is not a good partner for you. Stop holding on to what could have been and what could be if he made changes. The person you broke up with is who he is on his best behavior. Walk away and don't look back. Cut communication and block him. You can do so much better. Now for the update. My dad's birthday party was the next week. It was at our family home and my parents went all out with decorations and food. I could tell they were trying to make it special for him. The atmosphere was lively with laughter and music filling the air. I was really looking forward to spending the evening with my family and just kind of forgetting about last week. But then my ex showed up out of nowhere. He said he wanted to drop off a gift for my dad. I wasn't expecting to see him here at all, and his presence made things awkward. So I tried to focus on my family. My younger sister was there, and we chatted about her college plans. She was really excited, and I was happy to see her in such a good mood. My brother Jake was there with Rachel, who looked really pregnant and glowing. I was so happy for them. I know people say that pregnancy is beautiful, but honestly, Rachel just looked really good. The moment my ex entered the living room, my stomach dropped. I noticed him hanging around the snack table, glancing my way like he was trying to catch my eye. I could tell he was hoping I'd talk to him, but I just wasn't in the mood. My mom introduced him to some family friends, acting like nothing was wrong. My dad made a toast, and everyone raised their glasses, including my ex. I could see him trying to chat with my family, laughing a bit too loudly at all the wrong times. It was just so cringy. At one point, he came up to me, trying to start a conversation. I kept my responses short, not wanting to encourage anything. I think he could tell I wasn't interested, but he just kept trying. As the night went on, I overheard him talking to my uncle about his new job. I had no idea what kind of job he got, and to be honest, I didn't care. I just wanted him to leave me alone. During the gift opening, my ex handed my dad a framed picture of us from a vacation. My dad laughed and said it was a nice surprise, completely missing the tension in the room. I excused myself to the kitchen, needing a break from the awkwardness. I was making myself a drink when I overheard my mom talking about my ex with my aunt. They were reminiscing about how charming he used to be, making me feel so uneasy. I just wanted to scream and tell them how wrong they were. I went back to the living room, where my ex was still mingling with family. I caught my sister giving me a concerned look, silently asking if I was okay. I nodded at her, trying to assure her that I was fine. My brother and Rachel left early, saying they had a long drive ahead. As they were leaving, my brother pulled me aside and asked if I was all right. I nodded, trying to play it cool, but my mind was racing. I wanted to tell him everything, but I knew it would just ruin the night. The night dragged on, and I felt more and more uncomfortable with my ex around. He was just so persistent. My dad finally noticed the tension and asked us to take a picture together. I stood next to my ex, forcing a smile for my dad's sake. After the photo, I stepped away and found a quiet spot near the back door. I was trying to collect my thoughts when my ex followed me outside, saying he wanted to talk about what happened last week. I told him I didn't think it was a good idea, but he insisted. He started talking about how he wanted to be better and make things right. I interrupted him, saying I didn't want to go over the past. Just then, my mom came outside, looking for me. She asked if I was feeling sick, and I quickly said no. My ex looked disappointed, and I felt a sense of relief when he walked back inside. The party wrapped up, and I helped clean up with my parents. After everyone left, I locked the door and sat on the couch, feeling completely drained. I just want to forget about this whole thing and focus on getting my life back on track. I can't believe my ex had the nerve to show up at my dad's birthday party, making everything so much more awkward than it needed to be. I just feel so tired of all this drama and the fact that my parents can't see what a creep he really is. I thought I could at least enjoy some time with my family, but even that was a struggle. I just need some peace and quiet for a while, without any ex showing up and ruining everything. I'm just done with all of it for now, awaiting developments. Mini update. I realized my ex would do anything to get my attention. No matter how many times I ignored him, he just kept coming back like a bad penny. I had to be careful because I wasn't sure what he was capable of. My parents clearly weren't going to help, and I was done asking them to see sense. I didn't want to involve my brother or sister either. They had enough on their plates already. Am I the idiot he now for pushing my cousin to face the truth about his secret children? I, a 40-year-old woman, have a cousin who is like my brother. We were raised as siblings. He's been with the mother of his child for many years now. When they got together in another country where my cousin was working, he was still married but didn't tell her. She didn't know she was with a married man. My cousin has a child from that marriage. After a few years together, my cousin came to me asking for advice about how to tell the lady that he was married, divorced, and has a child. He said he feels like damaged goods and has too much baggage and that she wouldn't accept him. I encouraged him strongly to tell her everything at once. He eventually told me that he told her he was a divorced man. He filed for divorce in our country where his wife was living. No clue if it was finalized because now I don't believe anything he says. But he told me he didn't tell her he has a child. I scolded him. I told him he should have said everything. For the next 6 weeks, I was on him every day to tell her. He eventually told me he did. I believed him. My cousin works on another continent. We get worried when we don't hear from him. I was calling him and texting daily, no answer. So eventually I messaged her to ask for him, even though I know they aren't in the same country at the moment. But I knew he'd call because of his child with her. We chatted. She ended up telling me they had broken up. I was shocked. She was shocked because he told her that I knew we are close. This is not someone I talk to often, only maybe twice before. She is an extremely nice person. She begged me not to say anything. But while we were chatting and she was telling me how he is struggling mentally, he lost his 2 brothers over the years, and it was traumatic, plus other deaths in the family. He feels guilty for being alive, etc. So I said something along the lines of, he has family who loves him. She has his sons to live for. Then she was like, sons? My son is not his only child. I was like, oh my God. Then I begged her not to tell him. He would hate me. My cousin's son is a brilliant 10-year-old. I have no idea why he's hidden him from her for all these years, nearly a decade they've been together. He's lied to her about so many other things too. His brother was unalived in one country, but he told her it was in the United States and shut down and never wants to talk about the case with her again. I feel so guilty and afraid he will hate me if she tells him. How can she even keep that secret for long? She was actually happy to know her son has a sibling and can't wait for us to meet her son. Most of us are in the United States and they also live on another continent. My cousin could have brought her to see us, but he always refused. So she is begging me to come visit because she wants her mixed son to know his other side of his family. I just don't understand the lies he carries and created for no reason. Apparently, he is going through a crisis. He eventually told me that he will call me, but he is not ready to do so. I was only checking on him. I didn't know that anything was wrong. What should I do? I don't want him to hate me. At the same time, his son deserves to be known, even though it happened by mistake on my part because of his lies. Now, for a few comments before the update. He has a 10-year-old child that he's been hiding from a woman he's been with for almost that long. Have you considered that your cousin is difficult and that caring about whether or not he hates you because of his own actions is wasted? That he is being awful to all these people in his life, the people he supposedly would care about the most? It doesn't matter what crisis he is going through. Frankly, that could be of his making, considering he seems to have a general disregard for others, and sometimes that catches up with you. You didn't do anything wrong. He told you she knew. He's a liar, and his lies have consequences. Keeping his child from their sibling is cruel, and lying continuously to your partner and the mother of your child is also cruel. I know your cousin is like your brother, but try not to be so hard on yourself or worry that he might be mad at you. If he's mad, he needs to deal with it himself and not take it out on you. You aren't at fault here, and it sounds like you are trying to do the right thing. Now, for the update. A week passed since the last update, and I hadn't heard from my cousin. I was honestly getting worried about him. It's not like him to ghost me, especially during all this chaos. Fast forward to a Saturday, I get a text from his girlfriend asking if we could meet up. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect, but we decided to meet at this local coffee shop. Y'all know the type. Quiet, familiar, and basically the only place in town that serves decent coffee. As we settled in, she looked a bit more relaxed, but I could tell she had a lot on her mind. She started saying how she had been thinking about my cousin a lot and wanted to reach out. That was a bit surprising considering everything. But then she dropped a huge surprise. She had spoken to the cousin's ex-wife, and the woman was totally distraught. Like, who wouldn't be? The ex-wife confronted my cousin about the hidden child during a family event, of all places. I felt my stomach drop as she explained how the ex-wife had no idea. The ex-wife told the girlfriend that the cousin had lied about everything. I can't even describe the look on her face when she said that. She told me how blindsided and angry she felt, but she wanted to understand more about what was going on. We both agreed that my cousin needed to be confronted about his choices. It wasn't going to be pretty, but it had to happen. I suggested a family dinner to discuss everything openly. You know, like those cheesy TV shows where they sit around the table and spill all the secrets. Yeah, it was going to be something like that. We planned to meet at my place for dinner the following week. The day came, and my cousin arrived late. He looked disheveled and nervous, like he had just rolled out of bed. I mean, I get it. We were all feeling a bit on edge, but still. Dinner started with some small talk, which felt super forced. The tension in the air was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Eventually, the girlfriend couldn't take it anymore and asked the cousin why he hadn't been honest from the start. He started stammering, claiming he was just trying to protect everyone. I knew that was a load of crap. That's when I spoke up and said the truth was already out. You should have seen the color drain from his face. He realized exactly what I was talking about. His girlfriend was standing there, waiting for an explanation, and he just looked like a deer caught in headlights. She stood up, visibly upset, and left the table without saying another word. The cousin followed her outside, and I was left alone with all these thoughts racing through my head. I could hear shouting outside as the cousin and girlfriend argued. I stepped out to intervene, but honestly, I wasn't sure how. The argument just got louder and more heated. The girlfriend was accusing my cousin of being selfish and manipulative. Then, in a moment of frustration, the cousin revealed the existence of a third child. Like, what the hell? The girlfriend was completely shocked and wanted to know why he had hidden it. He snapped back, saying he didn't want anyone judging him. Honestly, I was just standing there, listening to all this unfold, and I couldn't believe how messed up this whole situation was. After the girlfriend stormed off, the cousin came back inside, looking defeated. He asked for a place to stay, saying he needed a break. I agreed, but tensions were still super high. Over the next few days, his behavior became increasingly erratic. He started drinking heavily, which I get, but it was like he was using it as a crutch. One night, I found him rummaging through old family photos, probably trying to relive the good times. That's when I decided to reach out to the cousin's ex-wife for some context. We met at this diner, where honestly, the food was better than the conversation. She explained her side of the story. She mentioned filing for sole custody of their child, which honestly didn't surprise me. The girlfriend contacted me again, asking for clarity about my cousin. We met again, this time at a local park, to discuss next steps. That's when the cousin overheard our conversation and confronted us. Honestly, I could see how desperate he was. In a moment of desperation, I suggested we all sit down and talk it out, like a family therapy session or something. Surprisingly, he agreed. But he looked more defensive than ever. As the meeting concluded, I made a bold move. I suggested that the cousin take responsibility by publicly acknowledging both children. Like, he couldn't just keep hiding from this. His face turned red, but he reluctantly agreed to consider it. Honestly, I'm still not sure how this is all going to play out. The guy has a lot of growing up to do, and I just hope he can step up for these kids. Edit. After the family meeting, my cousin agreed to acknowledge his children publicly, but he's still working through his issues. I contacted the ex-wife, and despite initial tensions, we've maintained open communication. She decided against sole custody, prioritizing her child's relationship with their father. The girlfriend and my cousin are attempting to rebuild their trust but have not resumed their relationship. They agreed to co-parent their son. My cousin is considering counseling and has shown commitment to being a better father. Am I the idiot for feeling humiliated when my boyfriend's family mocked my language barrier at dinner? My boyfriend, 24-year-old, and I, 26-year-old female, have been together for about 2 years. We met in college, and it started out as friends and ended up being together. Both of us are from different countries, but I have been staying in his country for about 6 years now. I studied here and work here now. I speak mainly English, and I can speak a little bit of Mandarin. My boyfriend can speak different languages, including English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. He comes from a Cantonese-speaking family, so I often hear him engaging in conversation in Cantonese. Some words are even familiar to me, but I still cannot understand a whole conversation in that language. I have met his family many times, but it was more like small exchanges here and there, as they are very busy people. Last night, I was invited to dinner with his entire family: mom, dad, aunties, uncles, siblings, and cousins. Everyone. They communicate with each other in Cantonese, which I do not understand. So I just sat quietly, and my boyfriend would debrief me on what they were talking about. Then they would engage in English for a little while. I chipped in and shared a laugh. I also tried to start a conversation here and there. They would answer me and go back to speaking Cantonese, which I totally understand since it is their primary language. I had no problem just being there, listening, and getting to know his family. I don't feel entitled to them switching to English just for me, although I really want to be talking and sharing stories as well. Then his dad spoke up and said, "Hey, you need to come out of your shell and be more social." I think he said that because the entire night I was basically muted. My boyfriend spoke on my behalf and said, "It's a little hard for her to understand us. Give her some time." At that moment, I could see his siblings and his cousins sharing glances, and that made me uncomfortable. I just chuckled and said, "Yeah, it seems like I need to learn the language, haha." Everyone laughed a little, and they continued their conversation. Not long after that, his siblings and his cousins, 21-year-old male, 22-year-old male, 23-year-old female, 25-year-old male, were talking in Cantonese and would insert "make her feel invited" in a mocking tone and would laugh with each other. They repeatedly said that at least 4 to 5 times. I looked over at my boyfriend, and he wasn't laughing. It seemed like whatever they were talking about made him uncomfortable as well. He just rubbed my back for a while and said, "Sorry, are you okay?" I said I was fine. He offered to take me home, but I figured it would be rude for me to leave in the middle of dinner. I felt embarrassed, and my face was getting hot as I was holding back tears. I wasn't going to feel left out and was okay with just existing there, but that little situation really made me feel like hugging my mom and crying my eyes out. I continued to fake it until it was time to leave. I thanked them for the invitation, and as soon as I got in the car with my boyfriend, he apologized again. He said that he felt bad for me. He also expressed what his dad had told him during dinner. His dad said that I was a beautiful and polite young lady, but he doesn't like that I'm shy. I broke down crying. Part of me is trying to understand his dad's point, but another part of me feels like it's unfair. How do you expect me to be an extrovert in a room full of people who speak a different language? How do I engage in conversation when I don't even know what they are talking about? My boyfriend reassured me and took me home. It's the next morning, and I still feel horrible. To add, I asked my boyfriend what they were talking about. He told me he was just going to keep it a secret until he speaks to them. But since I am visibly upset about it, he decided to just tell me. Basically, before I arrived, my boyfriend told them, "She's amazing. You guys will like her. Please be nice to her and make her feel welcome." So the whole make her feel invited mockery was them making fun of what my boyfriend said prior. It's weird to me. Why would they make such a remark, as if they are being rude about it? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. At this point, you are way overthinking things. You don't have enough information about anything to really make a definitive conclusion. Families with a primary language have a tendency to slip back into it very quickly and easily when together. You also said the older folks at the table don't have a strong background with English, which means the younger folks are going to defer to a language that's more comfortable for them. What his cousins said doesn't seem to be about you, and more about them just interacting and being sarcastic with him. If you're going to date people with a different primary language, you're going to have to get a thicker skin and be accustomed to being out of the loop in many conversations. Learning the language helps. Use your boyfriend as a speaker box in the meantime. Source: I was married to a woman from another culture for many years. I spent many meals having no clue what was being said. Comment 2. I think that's pretty reasonable. If your boyfriend wants you in his life, he has to be willing to either 1. Have you basically never spend time with his family, and for him, therefore, probably to limit his own time with them, especially if you have children together. Or 2. Stand up to his family and give them an ultimatum to behave better, with the or else being that he himself will cut them off. If he's not willing to do either of those, then yes, the relationship has to end. Now for the update. A week after the family dinner, I woke up to a group chat from my boyfriend's siblings about planning a birthday party for their dad. They were all over the place, talking about who could bring what, and I just sat there, wondering if I was even invited. I had never been included in anything like this before, and it felt like this whole family was just a bunch of inside jokes I was never going to get. Then, I noticed they were joking about wanting to embarrass their dad with a big surprise. And honestly, it made me nervous. Like, what does big even mean? I was still trying to get the whole surprise party thing when my boyfriend came over later that day to help me practice some Cantonese phrases. He was supportive, but also a bit skeptical. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked, looking at me like I was about to do something crazy. I told him that I had to at least try. I couldn't just be the clueless white girl in the corner anymore. I felt like a clown trying to juggle while everyone else was dancing, but I was determined. Then, I learned that the party would be at this local restaurant known for its traditional cuisine. Oh great, just what I needed. The place specialized in dishes my boyfriend's family loved, and I was already feeling pressure to impress. I mean, what if I accidentally ordered chicken nuggets or something? The day of the party, I arrived early to help set up decorations at the restaurant with my boyfriend. This was the first time his siblings and I would be in the same room for more than 5 minutes, so I was super nervous. His siblings showed up with balloons and a banner, immediately joking about their dad's age. It was like a roast session, and I was just standing there, wondering if they were going to turn on me next. We made plans for the big reveal, and I just kept nodding along, trying to memorize the phrases I had practiced. When their dad arrived, the family yelled, "Surprise!" and he looked genuinely shocked and happy. That made it all worth it, honestly. I joined in the celebration, and for a moment, it felt like I was part of something. I tried my best to participate in the conversations, using the phrases I had practiced. At one point, the siblings included me in a game where we told embarrassing stories about their dad. I found it amusing, and it was a nice change from just sitting there doing nothing. But then, their dad stepped in and asked them to be nice. He said everyone should feel welcome, and I was like, dude, I'm not offended. But the siblings chuckled like they got the hint, and the mood lightened. During dinner, I took a chance and tried to ask questions in Cantonese. I was so nervous, but the siblings cheered me on, and I felt a little more confident as the night went on. As the cake was brought out, the dad made a toast, thanking everyone, especially me, for joining them. After that, his siblings invited me to help plan the next family event. I didn't think they'd want me involved after the dinner, where I was basically a statue, so I agreed enthusiastically. I felt like I was finally being accepted, and it warmed my heart. The next day, my boyfriend's parents invited me over for dinner, and I was pleasantly surprised. They wanted to continue building our relationship, and I was all for it. My boyfriend told me that his siblings were impressed with my progress and wanted to include me more. It felt like a win. A few days later, I got a text from one of the siblings inviting me to a holiday gathering. I responded positively, realizing this could be a new beginning for me with the family. I didn't have high hopes going in, but now I really feel like this could work out. Edit. I did not know Cantonese before this, but I learned a few phrases with my boyfriend's help. His family speaks various dialects, so I focused on the ones they'd likely use. The holiday gathering is in a few weeks, and I'm hoping to feel more comfortable and accepted in the family by then. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.